Today's episode is called From Homeless to 300 Deals a Year, The Quiet Rise of Farhan Mahmood. Farhan isn't loud, he's not flashy, but behind the scenes, he built a fantastic mortgage business that runs it completely by referrals, no ads, no gimmicks, and at its peak was funding 300 files a year. What makes his story remarkable isn't just the numbers, it's where he started, sleeping in coffee shops, struggling to make rent, and battling the pressure to say yes to every single client. If that's you, I'm telling you, you're going to want to listen to this. In this conversation, we unpack how he overcame burnout, set boundaries, and redefine what success looks like. If you've ever wondered what quiet resilience sounds like, this is absolutely it. I love my conversation with Farhan. Hey, I'm Scott Peckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast, and each week we bring you episodes to help inspire, inform, and entertain you to build a fantastic mortgage business. This episode is awesome. I love Farhan, his attitude, and just how he's wired, and how he's just a quiet, hardworking guy. Before I jump into this episode, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Omwell. Omwell is an amazing tool for Canadian mortgage brokers. It helps them to stay engaged with their clients, their database, as well as create conversations that lead to leads and to referrals. And what they do is every month they send out a report that has home equity and buying power, and the open rates on this, because it's the homeowner's own home equity and buying power, is very high, 60 to 80%. And this leads to conversations, and those conversations lead to clients and referrals and deals. Check them out at omwell.ca/Scott and check out this conversation with Farhan. Hey, Farhan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Scott, it's good to see you. It's been a few years.
Yeah, it's awesome to chat, man. And so what I'd love to do is ask you a little bit about yourself. Tell me, how did you get in the mortgage business?
So I worked at one of the banks, mostly in mortgages, and then I went to work for a monoline lender, and I was working for them as an internal broker. And I realized that this is something I'm passionate about. So in 2014, I took my mortgage license and I started doing mortgages since then. And I love it. It's been a really, really, really good business. It has allowed me freedom to have a family, as well as the flexibility of working from home most of the days, which I couldn't get working outside.
Right. What was your biggest challenge going from being working as a lender, underwriter, to being a mortgage broker?
My biggest challenge has always been I'm very introvert. It's very difficult for me to talk to people. Even now, doing this for a number of years, whenever I have an appointment, my heart is still beating like there is no tomorrow.
Even with clients you work with now?
Yeah, still it happens. I'm much more comfortable. Leave me behind the desk, underwriting deals, doing conditions. No problem with that. But it comes to talking with people, or even doing small presentations with brokerages and so on, or with brokerage teams and so on. It's still very nerve-wracking for me. But over the years, I have developed myself into doing this. It's part of being a mortgage broker and being out there.
So you were, as an introvert, I mean, I would say I'm slightly more introverted. I get energy alone. I can do people, like I can be, but I find that that's how I am. But okay, so how did you get your business as a self-professed introvert? How did you start getting business when you first left being in the bank side? What worked?
Honestly, it was one of my friend. He was having difficulty getting financing because he had 2 or 3 rental properties. So I decided to take over the file. Me being an underwriter, I knew exactly how to put that together. And I was able to do his mortgage. And then he referred me to his cousin. Then that referral cycle started. So for the first 2-3 years when I was in business, it was purely 100% referral business which was coming in. And then slowly you start meeting up with some real estate agents who start trusting you, and they start sending you clients. Up to this date, I don't think we have spent any money on advertisement. Most of the business has been really word of mouth. And it still goes strong. When someone recommends you and someone knows that you have done mortgage for their friend or their family member, it's very difficult to lose that client.
Right. Do you remember how many files you did in your first year on this referral cycle?
I can't remember the files, but I do remember I made $78,000 worth of commission in my first year, and I was just okay, I almost replaced my salary at, financial institute I was working at. So I was very, very excited. And then following year, it was double than that. The year after that, I had doubled that again. So it was the money which I was making, which made me get it more and more excited. And it was more and more files coming in. In my peak year, I think the most files I did in a year was about 300 files in a single
Wow.
year.
Okay, so 300 files in a year and your whole model, but just so people understand this, you started out in the bank. What did you do at the bank?
Started off with customer service, but then I started off with underwriting mortgages in a couple of years. And that's just underwriting mortgages, getting them approved, more on the back side of it than front side.
And then you moved to the lender side underwriting.
Yes.
So how many years of underwriting experience did you have before you became a broker?
4 years.
Right. So you had 4 years of underwriting, and then so you didn't have to learn really the underwriting other than just some of the other lenders. What you had to learn was just where to find business and that side of it, right?
Correct. And it was also very exciting because one thing would work very well with one lender, while they will completely not touch a file. For example, clients with consumer proposals, we never touched them when we were in the bank. But when I became a broker, it was a whole new chapter that, you can finance these clients or self-employed clients who don't claim much income. Bank couldn't do much for them, but alternative lenders would fund them all the time with no problem at all. And how they took a look into the income was completely different. So learning all of that is still, like, to this date, when I get the underwriting policies of the lender, I book off 3 or 4 hours of my time just learning about them. And that makes me very, very excited that there is always this, even though we all do the same thing, but each lender is unique in their own ways.
Right. I've always described the mortgage business like a maze, but it's changing all the time. So you're at the one end with the client, and then the other side is the money. And there's this maze that you navigate, but they change it. Regulations change it. Lender policies change it. Clients' goals change it. And that's what makes a good mortgage broker good, is that you can still navigate that and help them get to the other side. If it's a straightforward deal, very easy, that anybody would do, well, they could do that themselves. It's these ones that require the knowledge and understanding of the different policies and in order to get them done, right?
You're absolutely right. And we can see the number of changes. Like, I started doing mortgages in 2014. 2016, we saw a lot of changes which came in with Home Trust getting into a bit of a trouble. Home Trust was my biggest lender that time. So I remember very clearly I had to pivot completely from Home Trust to a new lender when that whole transition happened. Then stress test came in. So how we underwrite mortgages completely changed again.
Right.
And as every single year I find that it doesn't get more difficult. The paper becomes more and more what's required to get mortgage financing. And you just need to adopt and not complain and just go with the process.
So how do you not let yourself go into, because I know there are some people that have been in the business for 10 years or 15 years and they complain, I miss the good old days. And I remember when I started, there was mortgages where you literally, if you could fog a mirror practically and you had good credit, I could get you a mortgage.
Yeah.
Well, and that's not the case anymore, but how do you not get a negative state?
To be very frank with you, I don't know anything else what I can do to make this kind of money. And
Right.
there is days which are absolutely horrible. When you think you have worked with someone for 2 years and you're doing their mortgage, and then the bank offers them the rate which you cannot even come close to. Right. More than regulation, what has boggled me down, especially in the last 1.5 years, is how aggressive main banks are in order to get business and offer a much, much more low rate. And no matter how much benefit other mortgage have, if your rate is 30, 40 basis points higher than the bank, client's going to go with the bank. And you can't even blame them. If I was in their shoes, I would do the same thing. But it doesn't take away from the effort of, like, with most of my client base, it's, meeting with the client, prepping them for their first home purchase, right? Oh, let's get your credit fixed. You need to do this. You need to pay off this debt. Maybe you look for a job which pays you more money, right? And waiting for another 6 months. When you have worked with someone a year and a half, 2 years, and then you do
and then they
services,
leave. That's even worse. Yeah,
it really
yeah.
is. Or you have serviced a client for some of my clients 10 years, right? I have serviced them, taken care of them, guided them through all of their small issues. And then the renewal comes up and you are so far off that you're not even come close to servicing them. That to me is more disappointing than, policies changing and thinking about, those
Right.
good old days. It's, how competitive this business has become and how difficult it is to have niche in now. And I believe that, with AI coming in, it's going to become more and more difficult. It's not going to become easier going forward.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. We make a lot of money if you get good at this job for the how long it takes to become a mortgage broker, the education required. If you're good at it, it can be very lucrative.
It is. And another thing is, it's not a level playing field, right? And whenever someone calls me and they want to become a mortgage agent or a mortgage broker, one of the things which I tell them is, first couple of years is going to be pure struggle at the moment in this business. But once you have established your book and you have established your client base and you have built good relationship with 3 or 4 real estate agents, business is going to come in. That's all really. Like, as one mortgage agent, you cannot service more than 3 to 4 good real estate agents who are doing 5 or 6 deals a month. It's just not possible.
Right. You don't need a ton of referral partners. You see that you need a handful of good ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point. Okay, so let's talk about, you'd said, we were chatting before we turned the recorder about how you've been able to take a vacation, and prior to that, you're doing 300 files in a year, some years. What have you changed in order for you to be able to take a break? I mean, you had a baby, so you have a little one. So, but walk me through, and how's that helped you being able to take these breaks?
So one of the things I saw, one of the very close friend of mine, his kids start getting into teenage and they did not want to talk to their parents at all. And then I start reflecting on my life. My daughter is getting to, she's 9 years old now. And I'm like, I only have 3-4 years left with her until she's going to become so independent that she does not want to spend time with me. So that realization happened more last year with me. So I start slowing down. And the other thing, which is, sometimes you go so much extra mile for a file, for such a little commission, that it's not worth it. I never said no to someone up until last year. Last year was the first year. If someone is calling in for a $70,000 file and it needs 10 exceptions, and collecting documents going to be very difficult from them because they are older or don't have access to documents or whatever, I start giving them away. After 10 years being in business, I felt I was burnt out to do those files. So I start saying no to them, and that allowed me to take some time off, reflect back more and more, and I feel like I'm getting more and more comfortable saying no to them.
Right.
And it saves times for everyone. There is a lot of clients, especially where I sit in the middle of a very busy real estate brokerage. I do know there is a lot of clients which are purely 100% rate sensitive. And no matter what I do, I'm not going to win with them on the interest rate. So upfront, I will say, listen, I would love to help you out. I want to be very respectful, but I feel like you might be able to get a better financing rate at this place. Just go there and get your file done there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, because you didn't say no, you said for the first decade, you just said yes to everything. How was it the first time you said no to someone? First time you was a file that, what did that feel like?
I honestly felt relieved, and I remember the file very clearly. It was a renewal coming up with one of my clients. The mortgage was, I think, $90,000 left over, and it's an older couple. They live 1.5 hour drive. So every time the renewal comes up, oh, I'm not happy with the rate. Can you find me low rate? Absolutely, I'm happy to. but that meant making 3 or 4 trips to their home, picking up their physical documents because they did not know how to take pictures. And last time their renewal came up, and I'm like, honestly, I think it's best that you sign with your current lender, and just go accordingly. It's not worth switching your mortgage from this lender to that lender. Just, I know they're charging you 10 or 15 basis points higher, but just go with them. And I felt very relieved afterwards. I thought I will feel very guilty, but it was more of relievedness than guilt, what I felt. And I followed up with a client a couple of weeks later, and honestly, it made no difference to them. They just
right. They were fine. Yeah. So it sounds like until you learn to say no, you wouldn't even be able to take you wouldn't be able to take time off because the volume of files was too high. So saying no, and how has saying no affected your income? I suppose and two questions: your income and mental health.
Well, my income went down a little bit,
yeah.
But my mental health went significantly higher. We have set up few rules. I don't take calls before 8 a.m. now. I used to before take calls at 6 a.m., 5, sometime even earlier than that. Clients
really? So you'd have clients saying, "Hey, why would somebody want to call you at 5 a.m.? Who are these? Who are you finding these clients?"
Scott, you don't know the brown client base, especially the one which are a little bit successful. Doctors, lawyers, those are most of my clients, right? Before they get to the office, they want to get all of their business done, right? So they would call in at 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and they would want their things to be taken care of. And same thing, late nights, they would go at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, right? And so I had to set up a boundary where I take calls from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I know there is people who do a better job than this, but for me, it was a big adjustment that after 8 o'clock, I'm not going to take a call. No matter what.
So you have one rule was you're going to say no to files that are going to be small file size, a lot of work. Second rule was you put this parameters around, I won't do calls, I'll do calls from 8 to 8. Any other rules you put in place to help you be able to create bandwidth to take a break?
Sunday off. No business on Sunday. And it was just needed for my mental health more than anything else. So that allows me to take walks with my daughters in the morning, spend some time with the family in the evening. And yes, I do end up losing on some files. That's just the reality of the business. But I'm okay with it at this stage.
Again, it's not where what's the trade-off? And so prior to that, though, you would take work Sundays. Like how many hours would you be working on Sunday?
Non-stop, Scott. Most of my years in mortgages have, as I mentioned, I've been a bit of an old school mortgage broker. It's sitting down with people, having coffees with them at their homes, listening to their stories. Every time a sign back came, I generally printed it, took it to their home, got them to sign it. But one client lives 45 minutes that direction, another client lives another direction an hour away. So you are spending non-stop time in the car, on the phone with them. We stopped doing that, a lot of that, as of last year. And I start focusing on, you want to come see me in my office. Otherwise, why don't we take care of it on a Zoom call? And for some people, that was very difficult to understand, but most of the people were perfectly happy with that transition.
They also, so then they're happy too. There's like, they don't have to, that can work out for both of you. And then how many people still want to come see you face to face?
Quite a bit. I still end up having maybe about 10 to 15 appointments every week, depending on the week. A lot of time it has nothing to do with mortgages. Like this morning, I had one of my clients come up. They're thinking of buying a new car. So he wanted to learn the difference between lease and finance. I know it's not my job, but I want to take care of him because he's been a good client. He came in, he brought in all the paperwork from Toyota dealership, and we're looking at all the other options, doing all the numbers. And at the end, he decided to go with an option. But that's generally how my client base is. They don't reach out to me just for mortgages. It's anything to do with their finances.
Right. But you're taking, as you said, this is a valuable client and you take care of them. Yeah. So, and then what's the longest stretch you've been able to take off?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And were you off, or were you just not coming in the office? And like, what I'm curious what you do there.
Off, no phone calls, nothing. That was when my last kid was born, son was born. I took 2 weeks off. I did not do any work at all.
Wow. How did that feel?
Weird to say the least.
Yeah.
Again, different people have different stories. My life was a lot of financial struggle when I was earlier. So I spent a lot of time sitting in Tim Hortons because I didn't have a place to live. I've spent nights outside on roads. So for people like me who have seen such frugalness in their life financially, even when you make money, it's very difficult to say no to money. And it has nothing to do with it has everything to do with your mindset, right? So for me to turn off my phone and not talk to my clients for 2 weeks was very difficult for me.
But probably refreshing too.
Very refreshing. And I felt much more energetic coming back to the office after 2 weeks. And it was a lot more fun.
Okay, I want to ask about something you just said. So you mean you spent nights on the road, in coffee shops? Like, what did you? Were you homeless for a period? Is that is that what I'm hearing? Or
for a little bit.
Okay, how do you mind me asking about that? Like how long was that, and how old were you?
So basically, what happened was I was in my late teens. My landlord decided to use the apartment which I was renting with another friend of mine for some other purposes. He literally, and I didn't know any better. Now we have tenants who haven't paid rent for 2 years and we can't kick them out. But on that time, he just decided to take. He just decided to take all of my stuff, put it on the curve, and this was 2008, and just put it on the curve and said that you're not allowed to come back inside the home, even though I had paid him rent and everything. So I didn't have money to pay. I was working in a factory for a little bit at that point of my life. So I didn't have money to pay another rent to another landlord. So I spent few weeks just Tim Hortons, walking on the street, and in the morning go back to job. But those things, even though they pass away, and that was a very short period of life, it has such a big impact on you mentally, right? Even though, like, one of the biggest fears I have is still thinking about those days. I get nightmares about them, and they don't go away.
Right. Well, hey, man, like it can definitely these low moments can define you or help you build, like it built a grit in you, so that and a work ethic. I'm sure that's probably a lot of the reason that you have had the success you've had. Right.
Yeah. And I always tell people the other side of the story. 2011, I bought my first home. 2012, I bought my second home. 2013, I bought another 2 homes, right? So from 2000, if you take a look into 2008, it looks like life was complete crap, right? My net worth was well above $1 million in 2014, 2015. It didn't take that long, but yes, there was a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, but it's completely worth it in my opinion.
Right. And it creates a work ethic. I mean, dude, kudos to you for, not letting that. Sometimes people get kicked like that and then they just stay down and they go, this sucks. And they don't, but you obviously found a way to turn that into fuel for yourself and motivation. Right.
Yeah. And that still happens, Scott. Like, there is a client which you have worked for a number of months, and I'm sure it happens with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Or there is a file which you have worked extremely hard on and everything works, and the lender says, oh, I'm not doing it. Like, I'll give you a quick example. I was doing a file with the lender 3 weeks ago. AAA client, like, they have over $1.5 million in net worth. Their mortgage is coming up for renewal. Put them everything done. A week before closing, they called and they said their property is less than 100 meters to a railway track, and they have decided not to proceed with that file.
Right. And and you're like that. Where do you like? This is the thing about the mortgage business is there's always 1,000 ways for a file to die, and that's one you probably hadn't seen before. And you're like, what? Where's this come from?
Yeah, everything in Guelph is 100 meters from a rail track. This was a new lender. I was trying to set up a relationship with them, and I'm like, okay, no problem. We'll step out. Or like last year, we had a client buying a brand new home. The husband works for Google. The wife works for a big employer. Appraisal happens, and there is a crack in the foundation in a brand new home, and lender said no to it. Nothing you can do, right? So a lot of time you feel completely powerless, and a lot of times you're like, okay, a file which everybody said no, you were able to build a business case, you were able to convince the lender to look at it from a different point of view, and they were able to proceed. Those are the days when you feel like a hero. And yet on the same time, that can happen in the afternoon, and in the evening you can get a decline, and that can completely boggle you down.
Right. How do you stay you seem like a positive guy. So how do you stay positive mindset given the natural ups and downs of the mortgage biz?
So I'd like to take a look into a longer picture, right? No one file is going to ever define you, and no one client is ever going to ruin your business, right? So the reality of the matter is, at the end, every file you figure out some kind of a solution. And yes, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but within a week you'll figure out something. And I'll give you a quick example. I had a client who decided to buy a property, no condition of financing, nothing, went firm, called me up, and very solid income, amazing income, ratios are super low. And then we found out he's just filed a consumer proposal 2 weeks ago. So nobody wants to touch it, right?
Yeah.
But it took me almost 2 weeks. I had to go to lenders I haven't used for a very long time, but someone is willing to do it. It's just a matter of, if you keep looking, someone's gonna. I find generally, if there is good things in the file and there is only one bad issue, you will find a lender who will finance it. It's just, you need to go through the process and just keep looking.
How do you know when to say no to when a file is not doable? Like, what's something that you would okay, when would you not pick up the file and try to run with it?
Most of the time.
And if you can think of an example, that would be helpful for the listeners. But I just think you seem the kind of guy who's going to try to look under every rock to find a solution.
Yep.
But I'm curious, you probably have some, okay, you got to be this tall to get on the ride. And if you're not that tall, I'm not even going to try. So give me an example of one.
So I always think of mortgages from 3 points of view, right? Equity, income, and credit.
Yeah.
Okay. It comes down to that. Fourth, obviously, is the property end of it. But most of the lenders, you'll figure out a solution with the property. But income, credit, and equity. If they have 2 things going for them, if they have good income and good equity, you're going to figure out a solution, right? Or if they have very good equity and they have low income, you're going to figure out a solution. When they have 2 out of 3 things missing, then it's time to say no.
Right.
And it happens. Like my 11 a.m. appointment today, young couple, they are amazing couple. Someone introduced me in the brokerage. I asked them to come in, sit down with me. Both of them have a lot of student debts. Both of them are working minimum wage jobs at the moment, and they want to buy a $700,000 home. It's not going to happen, right? It's just the way unfortunate the life is. But what we can do is always set up a plan. So what I generally do is, whenever I'm in a situation, is like, guys, I'm not able to help you today, but can we work on this plan? Okay, you are an electrician, or you're in the electrician school, you're going to become a journeyman. In about 6 months, your income's going to go from $22 per hour to $34 per hour. Can we set up a plan to pay off this debt? Can we do this?
Right.
And then you will be able to buy this home. Or what we find a lot of time is people are, especially I find with Asian client base, they're trying to outclass one another, right? So if they can afford $1 million home, they're trying to go for $1.4 million home. And a lot of time, my conversation with them is, guys, I'm not able to help you with the $1.4 million home, but can we find some reasonable solution? Can we maybe go to 1.1 million and try to save a little bit more down payment, so we have the ability to finance this? But there is people who just don't listen to it.
Yeah, you can't do anything about that. Okay, that's good. Thanks for sharing that. I think you seem like a grinder, somebody who's like will not quit on a file. But that's a good. I remember hearing that years ago. That's income, equity, and credit, and you need one. You need 2 of the 3. And if you've only got one, it's like a one-legged stool. You can't even balance it, like, unless you're. But okay, tell me about what's the best change you made to your mortgage business in the last year, like process, or what's something you've done that has helped you.
To be honest with you, it was the transition of the brokerage. So our old brokerage, they were wonderful. I have so much respect for where I come from, and for a number of years they took care of me, but they were very old school, changing it to BRX. And I'm still learning. There's a lot to learn, but a lot more technology driven. I found, honestly, I was so addicted to Logics. It's such a wonderful software, but transition to Finmo has been incredible. It made my life so much easier. How friendly it is, how I can use it on my iPad instead of my desktop computers in office, which we did not really have the ability to do much with the older technology. So that transition has been very, very helpful. And we are finding that we are able to streamline things a bit more with going hand in hand with technology.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate this conversation with you. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have? You think would be helpful?
Not really, but anyone who is looking to get into mortgage business, I always tell them that it is a great, great business. If you're willing to work hard. If you think that you're going to stay at home and you're just going to keep on getting files, not going to happen. And if you have a mind where you are willing to go out and willing to learn, there are so many amazing careers which you can go out of when you leave the mortgage business eventually. It's such a wonderful business to be in.
Right. Dude, awesome. Well, hey, thanks for chatting with me, Farhan. I really appreciate it. And we'll be chatting again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scott. Take care. Okay. Bye.
Hey, thanks again for listening. And hopefully you got some inspiration ideas from my conversation with Farhan. I know I did. I loved my conversation with him. And one thing I'm going to ask from you is if you want to get on the most useful email for mortgage brokers, click on this show notes. I've got this email that I create every week called the 321 email. And I go find 3 things for you to check out from all the scouring research that I'm doing, 2 AI tools or prompts for you, as well as 1 idea from me. I kind of got this idea from James Clear, but it's our version for mortgage brokers. It's the most useful email you're going to get on a weekly basis. Check it out. You can also find it on social. If you find me on social, click on my link tree. It's there. Thanks for listening. And as I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is who's got the answer. This podcast is designed to provide some of those answers. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.